Welcome back to DC Cinematic Minute, the daily podcast where we analyze Zack Snyder's Justice League by each individual minute. My name is Nathan. You can find me on all social media at NoClutchNate.
And my name is Mark. You can find me on all social media at Mark Meadows.
And today we're talking about minute number 69 of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and this minute is going to start out with, jokes aside, and Wonder Woman wrapping up the explanation of the Age of Heroes battle to Batman, explaining a little bit about just what the deal with the mother boxes kind of were, as if the entire story that he just heard didn't explain it at all. He has to get down to the bare facts of, okay, you told me the story, now really tell me the story, whatever, asshole. The minute's going to end with part 3. Opening part 3 of a very fun, fast character. We'll get to spend some time talking about. But yeah, this minute's going to end part 2, the Age of Heroes, and start part 3. So good little catching up part. Catch your breath, if you will, breather.
Yeah, I think, and to really just kind of wrap up part 2, the Age of Heroes. This last bit of it is just a quick wrap-up exposition, like what caused the mother boxes to reopen. We got to get the team together. Everything that we've just gone through, it really distills it down to the bare exposition, which is good. It's good for storytelling because you've just had, we're an hour into the movie, just, about 70 minutes into the movie, and you've seen a lot of crazy stuff happen, especially with Age of Heroes, where we've gone through the attack on Themyscira with Steppenwolf, and then Steppenwolf and Pejornov talking to Desaad, and then Volko talking to King Arthur and Arthur Curry, and then coming back and finally seeing Bruce Wayne talk to Diana, who we've seen those two characters separately throughout the story. Diana doing her own thing in London, and Batman doing his own thing in Iceland. In part 1. Don't count on it, Batman. But now they've actually are here talking to each other, and them talking to each other going, okay, well, something woke up the boxes, and it's the third one of the Trinity, Superman, him dying, that they're just like, what woke up the boxes? It's the other person that's missing in this picture right now, and they don't know that. But it's nice that they ask themselves this question, because yes, it's easy for you and me, Nate, because besides doing the podcast, it's all we talk about. It's just like, okay, well, Superman woke up the mother boxes and this, that, and the other. But if I were to show someone this movie who's like just coming into it, and just the hype of the Snyder Cut is what's bringing them into it, they're not going to know as easily that Superman is the cause of the mother boxes waking up. And we had to kind of talk that out throughout the years, at least the 4 years that was the gap between Dawn of Justice and Zack Snyder's Justice League, to know that the death of Superman is waking up these boxes. And sure, this movie starts off that way to tell us that, but it's nice that for people who are a little bit simpler minded for comic book movies to ask those kind of questions. And so yes, they hit us with all this lore, and you and I, we have a feast of a movie to dig into.
Yes.
But for the general audience, they just need things to be a little bit simpler, so it really works out for them. I was at Walmart earlier today, and I saw like an older lady wearing an Avengers shirt, and I just thought to myself, that's a movie that person can digest. There's no way I could get that older woman right there to sit down for Zack Snyder's Justice League. There's just no way it can happen.
Yeah.
And I came to this bitter conclusion that the Marvel movies are just more successful because this movie is too ambitious. Like, there's just no way. To compete with Marvel movies, they have to be dumber. They have to be simpler movies.
I agree with you, but I agree with you. The wording is harsh, but whatever.
Yeah.
I was watching the beginning of an Avengers movie yesterday with our friend Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the question of, just a simple conversation question of just why isn't DC written like this? And I said that is a very good question, but there's elements to that. So it's like your question is 100% valid, but wait 10 minutes because when he asked that question, it was at a part of government building of just like kind of in what's happening with Avengers is like what was. It was a big threat. It was the conversation between Doctor Strange and Tony Stark in New York. Bruce fell down and gave him the whole warning and stuff like that. It was like world building. And my discussion was, this is cool world building. They got this right. The animosity between Stark and Doctor Strange is correct. Obviously we're missing the Silver Surfer in this exact moment, but that's not the thing. And then Mike said, like, okay, good. So, like, let's take that. Why isn't DC written like this? This is fun. This is nice. I enjoy this. I know it. Coming from a guy who knows Infinity War and that whole story in that comic, a fan of it before it was even a household name. So, him wanting to have that sense of fun, when he remembers reading Infinity War and he remembers seeing Silver Surfer carry the message, it's like, that's really cool. And he says, like, why isn't DC written like this? It's like, okay, I get what you're saying. But the way that this right here is written, it's just, it's not smart. And I don't mean that to be in a way of just like, it's written for dumb people. It's not. It's just not to the level of mythology and world building that a DC writer would want to put in. Because DC and their characters inherently have that mythos built into them. And if you don't explore them, you're just like putting the character in a city and giving them a villain, and that's the problem, So you look at Suicide Squad, and it's like, that was written to be along the same lines as a fun Marvel movie. Like, chopped up, written to be fun along the ways of a Marvel movie. But that's exactly what you're getting. When you ask that question, when you want that thing, you get something like Suicide Squad. And it's not a bad thing, it's just, it's not Chris Terrio painting this big, freaking huge picture of what this world is and what the story is and all of these larger-than-life characters that are these mythos. And here's my big stained glass painting of their story. And then Marvel, it's just like, here's my manila folder of just what the hell happens. That's where the disconnect is. And you're right with seeing that older woman in the store and she's wearing an Avengers shirt, and that's hell yeah, awesome. You love Iron Man, you love to see your Tony Stark, you love his sideburns, awesome. You're cool. You got the Spider-Man in there, he does his jokes, he makes the alien, he makes the Star Wars reference, it's awesome, right? Cool. You show her Superman flying above the Capitol, walking up those stairs, and not seeing a bomb go off, and then ask her question, why do you think that happened? She'd be like, I don't know. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly, because you didn't see the stepping stones of what the plan or what the whole story was supposed to be telling you, because it wasn't just Superman at the Capitol, bomb go off, villain. That's not what it was. And that's where the want is. What they want is just what is happening in this minute of Diana saying, something called out to the mother boxes into the dark place, and now something is after them.
Yeah.
Okay. 99% of people are like, okay, bought and sold, I'm good.
Where's action?
Put it in a doggy bag and I'll go home happy.
Yeah. Something that, I would like to argue with that a little bit, because it's like the chemistry between these superheroes is still there, but they don't have to have a solo movie to start that off, to initiate that.
Who are you talking?
I know the Tony Stark Doctor Strange thing is great because you have Robert Downey Jr. doing his Tony Stark thing.
That's the other side of the argument.
And Benedict Cumberbatch doing his Doctor Strange thing and being like, oh yeah, look, it's two assholes. There you go.
And it's the two actors. Like, you're paying for those characters on the screen. Mark Ruffalo as Hulk is not it. Like, people need to realize that's not it. That's not it. Why you guys think it is, because it's just because it's Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, and you guys lost your fucking shit over it. Where it's like, that's not it, and it wasn't anything to do with Mark Ruffalo.
I think he used to do a really good job. I just like those last two movies. I was like, damn,
you bought Mark Ruffalo to put on in front of the camera. That's what you bought, that entire cast of those people to put them in front of the camera. You did not look at old Guardians 3000s and stuff and say, who can play Peter Quill? And you didn't watch frickin' Parks and Rec and go, that guy's funny. Like, that's you give someone...
Like at least
so
with
let's
Jurassic,
keep it in that same universe.
At least with Jurassic World, Owen Grady, like Chris Pratt's Owen Grady, is a complete character. There is
how many movies did it take him to get there?
But at least like I've seen Jurassic World twice in like the last month, which is strange. Okay. But every time I watch that Owen Grady, I'm like, he's playing a character. He's playing a cartoon character.
He is. That's perfect right there. And I'm happy that is in a character
Southern
that exists in the same movie that Jimmy Buffett is running away from pterodactyls, holding a cheeseburger and a margarita.
They cooked up in that lab. It's
that's
like that's a character.
I want the cartoon character. Yeah, absolutely.
At least be someone else. Yeah,
absolutely. But same universe as the Marvel one. You get the guy that played Daredevil, and you ask him, "What's your favorite Daredevil?" He's like, "Daredevil Yellow." You don't give that answer unless you know what you're talking about. That man did the homework. He played the character.
Yeah,
he plays the character. Matt Ryan does the Constantine thing. He plays the character. Ben Affleck plays Batman.
Well, see, that's what I was trying to argue with. I was trying to argue with, like, I mean, that chemistry is there, especially in Dawn of Justice.
Yes.
Because it is coming off Man of Steel, and you do have Ben Affleck's Batman meeting and talking with Clark Kent, Henry Cavill, in that gala. And then on top of that, you also have Wonder Woman meeting Batman and having their own kind of chemistry. And people, like, are smiling ear to ear because either it's Superman and Batman at the gala acting under their disguises, and then also having a gala where Bruce and Diana are talking to each other and being like, oh, you never met a woman like me, and having those moments, and then even at the Doomsday fight where he's like, is she with you? It's like you're still having those moments of being like, oh, I know these characters. Like, it's that kind of writing is still there. Like, they're still doing that whole thing. It's just what I mean. They don't need to have the solo movies before. You can introduce characters in that same world. I don't know. I think the writing is still there. But even like when in Infinity War, like when they start having the whole Rocket Raccoon bit where he's like, why are you doing that voice? And it drags on, and I was like, they're really doing this whole bit.
Okay, yeah.
I was like, I get it, but I don't want to laugh that much.
And it's not even that, it's more so just like, this is you're the joke's going on for too long, dude.
It's not even like it's not even like part of the extended cut or anything. Like, it was like that's part of the movie. And it just kept going. And I was like, whoa. And then they had to do another Guardians bit. And another Guardians bit. And I was like, okay, we're doing the Guardians bit. Because that's what they used to do in their movies. And so, again, it's that borrowed thing. It's like we have to borrow from the other movies that were made. And it's like, I get that people think that that's why the movies work. Because they had all these other solo movies. And then they brought them back in. So now all they have to do is just mix them all in a bowl and be like, oh, yeah. Remember the Guardians bits? Remember
whatever formula that they have, it works. Let's not.
It works. It does because it's working. And look at the money.
It
works.
I bought into it. I watch the movies. I enjoy them. It works. There are things that I wish were different. Obviously, there are things in these DC movies I wish were different, and things I think that don't work and whatnot. But
I just wish people would say that this stuff works too on its own way. But
but so like. Where's the finish line? That's my thing. Like, so if Marvel is setting whatever sort of precedent they are for telling their types of stories, and this is the directors, and these are the types of stories that you're telling with the slapstick and with the humor and yada yada yada, where do they go when they want to do something else? When they just did Fantastic Four, that was a sci-fi frickin' movie. That was a cool movie. But it wasn't funny, and Deadpool wasn't in it, or whatever the hell the argument is. Like, then it's just like, well, that movie's trash. Why? Because you didn't have funny Loki jokes or some bullshit in it? Because Tony Stark wasn't there at the end?
Fantastic Four?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, my mind is like, where do you go when you want to do something different? My mind went to Fantastic Four because I want to see Fantastic Four in the 1960s. You need to make that goddamn movie. You need to write that story. But will that get the same reception as And Ant-Man, absolutely not.
It's a loaded question because especially bringing Fantastic Four into the mix, there are parts of me that it's like, yes, that Fantastic Four movie is absolute garbage. And I understand where the director is trying to take that movie because, you know, when you think about what the Fantastic Four deal with, and when you think about what the X-Men used to deal with, and when you think about what Doom Patrol deals with, there is a caveat of the comic book, you know, the dark age of comic books where they were talking about that kind of thing. I do understand that. But Hollywood is not looking for those stories. They're looking for them now because now they can do streaming services and they can do indie television, and now that people have bought into the franchise, they can explore it and start being like, oh yeah, look at this side, look at Legion, look at Doom Patrol, look at this scarier side of New Mutants and stuff like that. Now they can do that. But when you're talking about a big action movie and you're gonna do a Fantastic Four movie, there better be jokes, there better people be laughing, and they better make $1 billion. That's what we want. And see, and that's the other thing lately with
it's not Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four is sci-fi. Like that's
But also I agree that like Fantastic Four should be talking about inclusion. Well, I think it should be talking about inclusion and how it's okay to be different. You know, I think there's a way to do
the
it.
X-Men route.
I want them to do, yeah, but I want the mutants thing to be more of an allegory for equality of people of all different races and, you know, gender and sexuality and stuff like that. Like, it's all supposed to be that kind of allegory of like, yes, you're different. Yeah, you're not like the, you know, cisgender white male character. You know, you're not normal. And that's the thing. A lot of people are not normal. And it's like, it's okay to talk about that. But how people go about it is what turns Hollywood off. And so I don't know if you can do a good job of hiding it and also get a few laughs, and then you're golden. And that's the struggle that they deal with now. And Josh Trank just wanted to make it a movie where they just suffer through their powers, which is a completely like, you know, for as far as the story, it's like, yeah, it's a great thing to talk about, but that studio was not going to let that fly. And so that's why that movie ended up like that. And that's the same thing with Suicide Squad. That's how it got chopped up the same way. That's what happened in Dawn of Justice. They said, nope, we want the Marvel formula because they make it work. And so when you're asking about what the finish line is, and, you know, unfortunately I have to say it's the money, it's the success of that. That's what sucks about storytelling nowadays, is that you're making a movie with hopes that it fills in seats. And that's the thing that sucks most about the Marvel movies, is that they're designed to you know, that's what they say. That's their idea. Oh, we make these Marvel movies to bring seats into the theaters.
Yeah.
What? Like other movies don't do that? You think people create stories just to go into an empty theater and not make money? Like, yeah, people want other people to see it, but for different reasons. It's not just to make money. People want to tell stories because they want to, you know.
I think when we're talking about the finish line, you're right. It is the conversation of money and the finish
for
line. For
them,
is the same
yeah,
thing.
but it shouldn't be. And I think that's why I don't think Zack Snyder is making this Justice League movie to make $1 billion. I don't think he made Dawn of Justice to make $1 billion, because if he wanted to, he could phone it in. But he wanted to be like, oh, I want to, you know, do this story that would entertain me. And that's what it all comes down to, is that it should just be entertaining. It shouldn't just be like, you know, will it make $1 billion? Is Army of the Dead going to make $1 billion? No, it's not even going to go to theaters. But it did. But that's not something that he planned for.
Yeah.
He just wanted to tell an entertaining story that he had. And Netflix was like, that does sound entertaining. Why don't you go ahead and make it? Hey, why don't you go ahead and do an anime? Why don't you go do a prequel? And he's like, I also got this Norse mythology story that might be pretty cool. And they're like, that does sound pretty cool. Why don't you do it? You know, and that's what it should be. It should just be like, that's the finish line. Just telling stories to, I don't know, make people want to be better or whatever. That's up to the storyteller of what he wants out of it. It shouldn't be that the storyteller is like, you know, this is what everyone's into right now. So
it just seems like everything just has to be
figured it would make $1 billion.
bust.
Like,
yeah,
you know, Ready Player One worked, so why don't we do that with Space Jam? It's like that's the mentality, because it's gonna be successful in that regard. It's like that's the disappointing part.
Yeah.
Let me talk about a few
Anyway.
notes about this minute.
Anyway,
I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
Let's get back. We had our time to rant and rave, but
One of the cool things about this minute,
yeah.
they're talking in the Flying Fox. I spoke about this before, but this is a 3-story set that they built entirely of the interior of the Flying Fox. It's just really cool because now you have actors acting inside of it, just like they were doing with the Bat Cave in Dawn of Justice. So here we are at the bottom ramp. This is where they wheel in the actual Batmobile that they have as well, so it can fit in. It's almost like a giant play set, you know, the action figure and all of it. Like, again, I don't know.
Totally, it totally is a cutaway place. It's like a Matchbox thing.
Yeah,
it's a van that opens up. You remember? You remember?
Exactly. It's and they can film everything in here. And
did you ever have the cutaway Batcave? I can't remember who made it. Maybe it was Mattel, but it was the little chibi guys. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
like
about,
Mattel,
right?
Yeah.
I know. It was Mattel.
I didn't have anything like that.
Other lines where it was. I had a couple of the medieval ones, you know, but they were like little knights and stuff. They were on horses and whatnot. But yeah, there was a Batcave that was cut away, and the neighbor kid down the street had it, and I really always wanted to play with it.
I know someone who had like the He-Man castle from.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, like Skeletor's castle. Like
that's really cool.
Had one of and you know, it has like one of those like meteorite balls that like launch off the catapult or something like that, and you know, I know those type of things. And I don't know. Is there a Flying Fox toy that does it, and you can put your Batmobile in there? Because there should be.
I don't think so.
That should totally be a thing.
Is there even just a static toy of the Batmobile? I know that they have like an RC car, I think.
This should have been a thing. This should have been a Flying Fox where you can put all your DC superheroes in the Flying Fox because they could all fit in there. You could put the Batmobile in there because it all could fit in there. That's money right there. If that's not a merchandise already, missing out. Because buy all those Mafex figures, get the Flying Fox also made by them, put them all in there.
It's wild to me that those Mafex figures are becoming popular now.
I heard they're releasing a full armor cyborg one.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I have the Dawn of Justice Batman and Superman ones. I made a point to order those for the comic book store. I was like, these are mine. Nobody touch them. I need to be notified the minute this shipment gets in. Two of the absolute best action figures I have ever owned in my entire life, honestly. And I'm so happy that McFarlane and Mafex are like the big DC figures now. McFarlane has blown it out the frickin' water with these new ones. Let me tell you, with their shared universe that they're doing, the multiverse figures. Oh my God. I was at Target and I saw all the ones that you could, they had the whole Build-A-Figure. The Father Batman, whatever, the big dude from the DC Metal.
Yeah.
They had the whole thing. You could get...
DC Metal is like probably DC Comics' biggest book right now.
It's wild.
Everything is DC Knights Metal and all that. Like Batman Who Laughs and all that. That's like their biggest thing right now.
I left the store right as that was like happening.
Right? And I
was just like, I'm done. Like, I remember thinking, like, I'm done. This isn't going to be an arc that I'm going to care about. Like, I don't care. I'm out. I have to be out. I cannot keep getting these freaking books.
I remember
walking away and being like, all right, whatever.
Because they were doing Black Label Batman. They were doing Batman Black and White. They were doing, you know, the Damian Wayne spinoffs where he was the Batman. They were finally getting into that. And so I was like getting burnt out on all the Batman spinoffs.
Real hard.
And then they killed off New 52 Superman, and I was like, I'm out. I'm throwing in the towel. And then Brian Azzarello and Cliff Change left Wonder Woman, got a new team, and it was like, great, but I got to start over again. And then they did Rebirth, and I was like, I can't keep going. I can't do this all over again. I already suffered through Multiversity. Like, I can't.
It was rough.
I couldn't do it all over again. And then they were like, all right, Batman Knights Metal. I don't even think it started off that way. I think it was Dark Knights Metal, and then... It was Metal. Yeah, and then I think it was so popular that they were like, well, what if all the Justice League was in this Metal universe? I think it just started out as
Scott Snyder's story of just like, here, this is like the new Batman arc. And then I think they were like, oh shit, we're just going to cross this over to everybody. And this is like a whole new dystopian, crazy future where everything's all Mad Maxy.
And I think we missed the boat because I think now it's popular. Like, I honestly think they're probably
I think it. Yeah, I think it's the main story that's happening in DC right now. I remember seeing an Instagram post from Scott Snyder so long ago where it was just a whiteboard of when Metal was first coming out. He was like, this is what I planned to releasing, and he had like, you know, the titles and like the parts and like the dates of when they were coming out, and there was only a couple tie-ins, and that was it. He was like, this is it, and it was just the one whiteboard.
Yeah.
That was years ago. I was like, oh shit, all right, well,
I think
that's still going on.
The Batman Who Laughs is just like their biggest marketing poster child right now. They're just like, oh, people love that. Batman Who Laughs. It's great. Even in Mortal Kombat, the weird other cousin of the DC comics, but not really. There's a skin for one of the characters, Noob Saibot, where you can dress him up full skin of Batman Who Laughs. So it almost looks like you're playing as that character. And his move set is very much in line with how Batman Who Laughs is in the comic books. So it's almost like playing that exact character. And then they also got Joker in the game and stuff like that, so it works out. So yeah, that is like their biggest character. But
one thing before we move on, the only thing that I want to say about this Wonder Woman and Batman conversation, the thing that I don't like, and I think it's just because there is no name for it, or the Amazons didn't have a name for it, is that, you know, she says that the Mother Box called out to the dark place and told one of Darkseid's conquerors to come here. The dark place irks me, but I'm okay with thinking that they don't, you know, if Wonder Woman is just reading off of the stories in that cave, they wouldn't, I mean, maybe the literal translation of Apocalypse was the dark place, you know? Things like that, where it's just like, okay, I get that. And how she's still telling it in this very cryptic way still makes it seem like she was just retelling them just, you know, stained glass pictures or painted stone that she was just in.
I think keeping
she wasn't giving them details
is the better choice.
Yeah, 100%.
You don't want to say, oh, you know, they're coming from...
Because if you said Apocalypse, he'd be like, what's that?
Yeah, then he has to go, okay, what's Apocalypse? Like,
yeah.
And it's like, they actually call their place Apocalypse.
Yeah, it's spelled different.
Yeah.
And go through the whole rigmarole.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's S-E-I-D, not S-I-D-E, just putting that out there.
And, you know, it's a lot better that she keeps it cryptic like that, because then it just gets even more straight to the point. And then it might be even some fun wordplay if Darkseid, if the name drop comes from Darkseid, if he, you know, I hail from Apocalypse. And he's like, you could take that either way. You could take that like the planet's actually called Apocalypse, or that he's, you know,
he comes from the Apocalypse.
He comes straight out of hell.
He is the Apocalypse. Yeah. It's like,
yeah, that's good wordplay. Chris Terrio, give me a phone call. So, you know, here we are wrapping up part 2, The Age of Heroes, before we start talking about part 3. And yeah, we talked about a lot of things. You know, the battle between the Amazons and Steppenwolf and King Arthur and Volko and all these things. Like, this was a long part. I don't know if it's the longest part. I don't think it is, but man, we talked a lot about The Age of Heroes. It's going to be a whole tonal change here, but it's just so far between the prologue and Don't Count on It, Batman, and The Age of Heroes. Is there any part that's really resonating with you the most, or are you still waiting for more of your favorite parts later, or what's kind of like your main wrap-up part that you want to leave the Age of Heroes with?
Age of Heroes main wrap-up part. I guess it would have just had to have been what we've been talking about these past couple weeks. Just this whole Age of Heroes battle. I mean, my jaw was on the ground when we were first watching it, and I can still pause it at any random moment and look in the background and find things that I didn't see before. That's what I love about things, you know, like this big world set pieces where I can just look and do this thing minute by minute and just point out like, oh, hey, there's this person. Oh, hey, there's that person, or, you know, anything of this sort. So yeah, this big battle, seeing the gods fighting with the humans, that's just great.
Yeah.
How they're depicted, that's one thing that I really enjoy just in storytelling, is the depiction of how humans were perceiving the gods on Olympus. Immortals does it amazing. It's one of my favorite things where they show them sitting on that just marble platform in the clouds, just looking down. That's great. I love seeing gods depicted in a human form, and we got it.
Yeah. To me, it's like the whole Steppenwolf going to Pajornov and setting up his communication thing and talking to Desaad and starting to get into like who that character is and what their connection is with the Justice League. Like that was something now going through it minute by minute where I was like, okay, I'm really digging into this, because obviously, like, yeah, first glance watching this movie, the big takeaway, well, if it's not the Themyscira battle, it's obviously the Age of Heroes battle, but we have both in this chapter. And then just on top of that, like, a personal favorite was obviously Volko and Arthur Curry speaking underwater. Like, that's just that Shakespeare goodness that I like. And that's, really just deserving of Willem Dafoe as a actor, as a character actor too. Like, being able to do such a role. It's just fantastic stuff. So I'm really glad we got to talk about that kind of stuff. And man, that stuff never gets old. So, so here we are with part 3, Beloved Mother, Beloved Son. What does that mean to you?
A lot of things. It's a lot of things, honestly. The tone of mothers throughout these movies that we've been paying attention to is very prominent, obviously. Could be a play on words, and it also could be in direct relation to characters like the Flash, who has, past of his, mother dying as a kid and his father being blamed for the death and all of that stuff, and Cyborg, his mother also passing away, and him having to live without her and just deal with his asshole of a father. All of these things.
Keep going. You can name every character.
You can name every character with all of it. You could even go back to, Superman and his mother and his connection with her and how much of a beloved son he was. On top of that, Mother Earth and the beloved son of Krypton. All of that aspect of all these things. That's kind of fun to even think about if you take it from Batman's perspective, with the human thinking of Mother Earth as it being that, and then beloved son as being the title of son of Krypton, and not man being sons at all.
Yeah,
that's kind of fun. There's so much to it. There's
every character.
Every character. This title specifically, I think, is just like a very good play on words of everybody. It's great. It's a central theme of these movies and in DC Comics.
Yeah. I feel like it would be wrong to say like explicitly that it's like like there's an answer to this kind of question that it's not really a question, but like it'd be like, oh, well, obviously this means, Cyborg and his mother, because he's like the heart of the film, right? Like it's about Cyborg.
But also, the next scene we're seeing is a Flash scene.
Yeah, so, and even though he doesn't talk about his mother, like we all know that that's the big driving force with him. It's also the big driving force of Batman. And you start thinking about that, like, oh, well, I guess I should also consider that, because that was the last movie. And then, Queen Hippolyta is a big character in this movie. Can Diana not be considered a son? I mean, it's a nice title, but it could also be beloved daughter as well, because she, that's what happened in her movie, and her mother finally communicated with her in this movie. So it's the mother figure is strong with every single Justice League character in this movie. King Arthur Curry, I don't know why I keep calling him that, but Aquaman, yeah, beloved mother, beloved son. Steppenwolf, beloved mother, beloved son. Mother boxes, it's all connected. It's great stuff. Amazing title. I don't know if it's from anything. Do you think it's pulled?
Like biblical or something? I don't think so. I
tried Googling it. the only thing I got out of it for me was when I typed in beloved mother, beloved son, the Google auto-populate gave me the Russian translation for beloved. And I was like, why? So I just kind of hit enter on it, and then it just started giving me translations for it. But I was like, Is it because I loosely study Russian Cyrillic, and I don't know if
Possibly,
that's
or
why, or
Mother Russia and
well, yeah, and then I was thinking,
workers. I don't know.
is there a fable that this is pulling from? Is there a Russian fable that beloved mother, beloved son comes from? Because then the matriarchy of Russia would make sense here, because we also deal with Pizhornov. I mean, it's in the Ukraine, but it's also a fictional place. So, yeah, I don't know. It really was. I don't know.
It's
if-
all correct.
Yeah, I don't know if there was
Just
like a
all of it.
comic book pull from. Like, I don't.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but that does bring me up to my next question, and it's the same exact question, but for a different scene. The truck passing and seeing the Central City's city limit sign and with the population and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I could have sworn that this is a panel from a comic book. Now, I don't know if it is, and I'm just like completely missing it, but I went through the ones that I thought it was. I could have sworn this was the first shot of Flashpoint. And then on top of that, I could have sworn that this was the first shot in the animated Flashpoint movie. It's not. And it's not in Flash. It's not in New 52 Flash. And that was what I pulled from as well, thinking that it's like I've seen this before. I don't know, but I know that I have seen this in animation. I would have guessed that it would have been Flashpoint, but I watched it. I went back and I went to HBO and I watched the beginning of it. It's not.
I think it's a really good establishing shot. I think it's an excellent tracking shot into, having movement show Flash, because, I mean, he's a speedster, so it's like you want to have some kind of movement to introduce Central City. And, I probably have seen this kind of shot so many times in maybe the Flash TV show or something like that, but it just seems iconic in a way that we've seen before.
It's very familiar, yeah. And it's not, I that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I have seen it, like, directly, like, shot for shot.
Mm-hmm.
Car passing the population sign.
Exactly.
Reduce speed. Like,
reduce speed.
Or like slow speed or something like that. Like,
yeah. From Flashpoint Paradox to the animated film.
I could have sworn that was it, but I watched it. It's not.
It has to be in there somewhere.
Maybe I missed a frame or something, but I don't know. This is where I need you people that are listening to screenshot something and say, hey, it's from this, and call me dumb.
One Easter egg that I do know that's here, and it's right in our face here, is the Gardner Fox label on this truck. Which is an Easter egg to, a writer. So as DC Comics explains it, as the movie, and this is like their DC Comics actual website, where they have their own official Easter egg list for Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is kind of nice of them to do, because I kind of thought they didn't care about this movie. But they say here, as the movie takes us to Central City, viewers can spot a produce truck playfully labeled Gardner Fox, one of DC's original superstar creators. Fox co-created the original Flash, Hawkman, Sandman, the Justice Society, and yes, the Justice League. In fact, he wrote the first story that shows Batman using a Batarang and introduced the multiverse in 1961's Flash, issue 123. Not only would this movie never existed without him, but the entire DC universe would be unrecognizable.
Issue of Flash 123, is that Flash of Two Worlds?
It has a direct link to it. So, yes, it is.
It is, right? With the Jay on the cover?
Yep,
And Barry?
Jay Garrick and
Okay,
Barry
cool.
side by side.
Awesome.
Yep, it totally is.
And
with the DC Universe app, I can read this immediately.
It's true. It's true.
So that's a good little... that's the only Easter egg I had. I have no idea if the population sign is a reference to anything. That is not a phone number, Nate. There are not 7 numbers there, so you cannot call that. Wait, there are 7 numbers. There's no 10 numbers. You need an area code.
Yeah.
What's the area code for Central City? Type that in.
You use POP, P-O-P.
Okay, so that would be...
I don't know.
555...
I don't have...
555-139-5600. Don't call that.
No, it wouldn't be 55. It would be P-O-P would be the area code.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
T9.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What is POP T9? Is that 555?
It'd be 555. No.
Are you serious?
It'd be 767.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry. Don't call the number. Oh, wait, it does say reduce speed ahead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is I've seen this. Like, that's where I'm so like,
'cause you've
oh
seen
yeah,
this
I
movie
know
too many
that's from
times.
that's exactly from Flashpoint. No, even when I first saw it, it was like, oh snap, that's like panel to screen.
Now, how do they decide on what the cityscape should look like for a fictional city?
Central City has been drawn for years, and it's in the Midwest.
You think he's not just like pulling from a comic book and just being like,
No, I think he is. But like, there's also like, here's what Central City looked like in 1960s. Here's what it looked like in the 70s. This is what it looked like in the 80s. Yada 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 yada.
it is kind of difficult.
And if you
because
want, what do you? It's supposed to represent what? Central City's supposed to represent Illinois or something like that. Like in real life.
Oh, Central City? Oh,
Or St. Louis. I think it's St. Louis.
St. Louis, probably.
Yeah, so like it's plains and centralized cityscape, I guess. With a big highway leading to it because Flash has to run on a straightway.
Here's the weird thing about it. And it's tricky because obviously there's a Flash TV show and they have their own Central City established. So if you type in Central City Flash in Google Images, you're going to get a lot of cityscapes that are also from the TV show.
Yeah.
The weird thing is they both look the same. They look very similar. So I have no idea. Maybe they had that conversation. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they both pulled from the same thing.
Maybe
Maybe Jeff Johns said, hey, Central City has to look this way. And then Zack Snyder was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, possibly. I'm sure that there's a way to design Gotham City from a cityscape perspective.
Yeah, a lot of
there's
buildings with bat ears on them.
Yeah, there's got to be at least the Wayne Tower with the bat ear looking thing. You got to have probably an Acme or a smokestack or something in there. And then big ass towering buildings with like some crazy highways or something. I don't know.
But no Zeppelins, huh? No GCPD.
No, in
Zeppelin.
ours we're making the Zeppelins. Yes.
It's that to me is unforgivable.
I was just talking about that video to David the other day. Man, what a pioneer. What a pioneer. Oh, we're watching Bag of Ants.
The Batman Begins Gotham has always been one of my favorite iterations, but of course, you know, Tim Burton did an amazing job with his as well, and I think Joel Schumacher made Gotham City his own as well. I
think Schumacher's Gotham City is
I think
my
deserves some
favorite
credit.
comic book version of a Gotham City. That would be like that's campy and it's awesome. I love the campiness of Schumacher's
and
Gotham
like the
City. It's
neon,
giant statues and all that stuff. That's awesome.
The Neon Gang was always like one of the highlights. Like when
the motorcycle gang,
when Robin steals the Batmobile and he takes it to Coolio and the gang over there, like that was one of the crazier. Like that to me was like that's awesome. But I lost my train of thought here. I don't know. I could go on and on. We're going to get into Flash stuff right here at the end. But should we save this part?
Yeah, we could. So what I'm trying to think of anything that we could talk about with Flash walking into this pet store. He's clearly walking at a fast pace compared to humans. He's not using speed. We are probably under the safe assumption that he was just coming from
really
something. The reason why he's late is because he's always helping people and showing up at the last second. It's like, you got super speed, but you're always late. Why? It's like, I guess I'm helping people.
Maybe he's always like, oh, I'll be late, but I could reverse time. And he's like, I shouldn't though. And then he's like, I could do it. And then it's like, I should just admit I'm late. I should mess with the time. I should just like. And he's probably just doing that over and over again. He's probably like, I know I'll be late, but maybe I could just, reverse time later. And then he's like,
I think the time thing is just a theory. I think it's just a theory. I think his mind is like, well, things start to get weird when I, approach that threshold of time and stuff like that. I think that's all he knows. It's just like, it just gets weird. Until you actually are like in it and able to manipulate it is when you realize like, I can control this.
Great trope. Always being late. great trope for that character. I think it's great. I think it's great that he's like, he has to be like, in my opinion, he's has to fast walk because he's like, I cannot walk any faster because if I do, things are gonna go south real fast. Which is great to think about. So, while we're here, we're gonna go ahead. I think it's a great stopping point because it's also the start of a new part. So I think we should change gears here. And if we were watching the movie, this would be a great time to use a bathroom break. So if you enjoyed everything you heard, you can find us on all social media. Talk to us about it there. Let us know what you thought about today's minute or any minutes that you might be catching up on. And tell us what you think about Part 2, The Age of Heroes, and how it stacks up with the other parts we've talked about so far. What has been your most memorable part with it? What is a part you have more questions for? And we'll catch you guys tomorrow for minute number 70 of Zack Snyder's Justice League.